Hi, I'm Emily,
And I'm Julia.
and this is the Bad Bitch Podcast.
Welcome back, my lovelies. We've got some really great topics for you today and some little bits of pop culture to explore.
We do, but before we start, can I mention our sponsor?
You can. Give me a fucking chance.
Should we start again? Sorry, darling.
I will. Yes, I was about to go, lovely sponsor. Don't worry. Right.
I think we should leave that in.
Yeah, we should.
Right, ready?
Okay.
Hi, I'm Emily,
And I'm Julia.
and this is the Bad Bitch Podcast.
Welcome back, my lovelies. It's so great to have you here again. Thank you for showing up for us and for yourselves, because we hope that by doing this podcast, we not only amuse you with our random tales and our random takes on pop culture, but also that we add value to your lives by the topics that we cover. Before we get into that, Emily, do you want to lead with our lovely sponsor?
Yes, this week we are delighted to be sponsored by Addressed Bespoke Property Services. Addressed is run by the brilliant Nicci Stanway, and I know Nicci and she's absolutely fantastic. She has almost 30 years of experience as a landlord, as a letting agent and an estate agent. So she really knows the market. And what she offers through Addressed Property Management is bespoke property management services for your property anywhere in London and the South East. Now, if you're a landlord, you'll know that one of the biggest pains about it is managing your property. It can be expensive, it can be a hassle. You've got to stay up to date on regulation. And what you don't want is a property manager that actually doesn't really prioritise you, isn't going to be available when you call and you have a problem and pick up the phone. And this is where Nicci and the team at Addressed are perfect, because they're offering a really personal, bespoke service. She really understands the hassles. She makes it easy. She's proactive on the regulation, making sure you're ahead of that. So highly recommend if you're an independent landlord, and you can find Nicci and Addressed at www.addressed.ltd. So thank you so much for sponsoring us.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing. I think you've got a career as like a voiceover, or like doing, what's that thing on TV where you do like, adverts? You do
the voiceovers for TV shows.
Yes.
I would love that. I would love that job.
It would be so
someone
good.
message us, how do I get that job doing the voiceovers?
I think you can, there are, obviously I'm going to say on Instagram, you can find out there are people doing this as a job and how to start your own career.
But it's normally famous people, isn't it?
No, just normal people are doing it. I used to have a friend that used to do it.
Right.
Yes.
Maybe that links to today's topic. Maybe
Yes.
my career will pivot into
I
that.
love this. That is a high five transition. But before we get into pivoting your career,
Yes.
do you want to know about what's been going on the internet this week?
I always do, although sometimes I worry to ask in case it's something horrific, but tell me.
You know, this is me. I'm very tiptoe through the tulips and the daffodils and having a lovely time, so it's never going to be that bad. But I do think, so obviously we've had April Fool's Day this last week
Yes.
just gone. I really feel like that with the invention of AI, perhaps April Fool's Day should be banned, because it's just like the things that people have managed to create as April Fools, but then they're relying very heavily on people remembering it's April Fools, bearing in mind that most people will go onto social media to, even if they do find themselves inflamed, they will go on social media for a break, just to sort of just see what's happening in the world. You're not in that brain space where you're sense checking everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's been a few things that have occurred from big companies and people you would definitely align some level of trust with, that have pulled these April Fool jokes, and they've backfired. So I'll get into them. So the company that produced Love Story, as we've talked about, JFK Jr. and Caroline Bessette, they posted up a very good fake sort of like teaser trailer. They didn't put together any footage, but it was very good teaser trailer with cast members. So they'd basically picked out actors. And they'd said, right, so Love Story's come to an end. The next love story we're going to do is Stevie Nicks and, is it Lindsay Buckingham who was in?
I have no idea.
The main love story, which, I mean, all I care about is Stevie Nicks because she's amazing. But yes, the main love story which was very integral to that part of Fleetwood Mac, they said that the next show that they're doing is going to be focused on their love story. And then obviously they've been like, and they've tagged actors, and then they've said,
faked this?
Yeah, they faked it.
But
People have
why?
obviously lost their mind because it's an April Fool's joke.
But what's the joke in
The
that?
joke is they're not really doing it.
To me, that's not a proper April Fool.
No. And then we go another step further. And do you remember Entourage, the TV show?
Yes.
Entourage was huge. It was a huge bit of culture, obviously, in the early 2000s. And it had a massive following. They did the movie. And obviously now as well, we're in this cultural space where we're redoing Top Gun. We're redoing all these different kind of big 80s franchises. We're relying heavily on nostalgia and bringing it back to help people cope, to just bring back that good feeling. So Entourage, huge TV show. The Jerry Ferreira, who was one of the actors in it, alongside another company, posted a post. It was just a poster. He didn't go full ham and do a trailer or anything, but he posted a poster saying Entourage season 9 coming soon. And when I say people lost their shit when they found out it was an April Fool, they really even he has acknowledged in the comments it was my bad, I shouldn't have done this. So yeah, there's been a lot of that going on this week on the internet of people being like, oh yeah, we're going to do this, but actually no, we're not going to do it.
See, I like the old school April Fools where you try and convince people of something ridiculous.
Yes.
But to me, neither of those things are ridiculous.
No.
You could make another series. You could make another love story. So I don't think it works as an April Fool, because you can't afterwards go laugh at yourself and think, gosh, I'm so silly to have believed that, because you're not that silly to have believed either of those things.
No, it's kind of like, yes, they've made it very plausible. There's a lovely lady coach. She's amazing. Go and follow Tori. Her podcast is her first 100K. She is a very big critic of Dave Ramsey, who's a money influencer in America.
Oh yes, no, I've heard of him.
Yes,
yeah.
So she's very critical about his techniques and how he does it. And she sent an email, which is really, really funny. She said, why actually Dave Ramsey is right. And then she started explaining his points.
As her April
Fools, which was amazing.
But that's actually funny.
That was brilliant. But I was like, wow, this is quite a big 180 pivot. And then I was reading it.
And then you realise.
Yes. So that was a brilliant
That's
April
how they
Fools.
Should be.
Yeah. But pretending Entourage is coming back, that we're going to be doing this new big thing.
That's just mean. That's just making people look forward to something and then it doesn't turn up. I do think in the world of AI, it has changed kind of pranks and jokes in the sense that we've started to question everything we see. It's like every day it could be an April Fool's.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I've sometimes seen now is celebrities. It used to be that if the press wrote something about you that was rubbish as a celebrity, you wouldn't comment on it. You wouldn't give it any creed. But now, because someone can do an AI photograph to mock up that you're having a baby or you got married or what have you, or you were in a relationship with someone else that you weren't, I've noticed sometimes you're getting more celebrities having to say, no, that isn't true.
Yes. Yeah.
Because people are producing photographic evidence that's AI generated. So now we're entering this weird world where whenever you see anything, your brain's going to say, is that a joke? Is that real? And I don't know what impact that has on how much we do or don't engage with celebrity culture.
It's really interesting because there'll be definitely, when I watch videos, especially if they're, I don't know, say if I see a video of a child falling over, a dog doing or something like that, and it's it looks like real world footage, I will be very is it AI, that sort of thing. But there are videos on Instagram which is this is AI, this is real, and it's really hard to tell some of them. And also I think when you've got celebrities and big media companies actually pulling jokes like that, you already have a certain element, you bought in and you trust them, so you don't expect them to kind of prank you to that level. And it's just a really, I feel like maybe the April Fools has to be toned down a bit. But you're so right, because AI is just blowing up and we don't know what's real. When I upload our podcast to YouTube, it asks me, does I have to confirm that it hasn't got any kinds of images that I've basically put together of other people, and no children, obviously. But yeah, they're very is this kind of your own raw content, or have you kind of done anything that's in the similarity or likeness of someone else? Which isn't, it's just the world we're in at the moment.
But that's still relying on you to say that. I wonder whether one day we'll just get to a place where we will just label things that aren't AI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There will be some kind of watermark on any content, whether it's a TV show or a podcast or just an image.
Mm-hmm.
There will be some kind of verifiable watermark that says not AI, because most things by then will be AI. I mean, it's scary. You could, I mean, you wouldn't create this as the podcast, but you could create a whole podcast. Like, you could create 2 characters and give them the script, and I think it could be quite convincing. But I have started to notice on advertising where it's used, I can feel it.
Yes.
And
yeah, for sure.
So I do feel like people, you know, one of the reasons people connect with podcasts is because they're generally quite an authentic conversation, and because they're longer form, you're almost having the experience of being in the room with those people. So if that's why people like them, like the authenticity of Joe Rogan talking for 3 hours and needing a bathroom break in the middle of it, then using AI to produce something, it moves you away from that. You then have to try and weirdly build all that back in again.
Yes.
And I'm not sure. At some point they'll get to a point when they can. But again, when your brain questions is something real, you start to disconnect from it. Like you see, you see it in the dating world. I've had friends when they're on the dating apps and they feel like they're having a connection with someone, they're chatting, and then something gets said or done, and they suddenly get a feeling that they're being catfished.
Yes.
And then they immediately have a completely different reaction to those messages. So I do think the minute we feel like we're being fooled, we have a completely different reaction to whatever we're engaging with.
Definitely. And it's so easy now to use, obviously, like ChatGPT to bang out captions and content. That's why when it came to like our wonderful live event that we're doing on the 7th of June, plug subtly, it was really important to me that I wrote that copy and I wrote it out. Yes, because I wanted people to get the essence of what we're trying to do. Because ChatGPT, it's great and it gives you an idea, but at the same time, it just doesn't sound like you, and it just sounds very contrived, and people want real life.
And I think that's why people want to come. And again, I'll just do the shameless plug. 7th of June, we are having our first Bad Bitch Reset in person at Azara Therapies in Benetton. And I think one of the reasons people want to come in person, and we wanted to do it, is people are craving authentic, real experiences with real human beings.
Exactly.
And so actually that's a really positive thing if it's almost like if the swing to the negative makes us swing back to being in community in person, that could be a good result from all of this.
Exactly. And so talking of good results and your impending career as a voiceover, artist, I love it. What kind of books would you do? Would you do ads? Would you do...
Oh no, you know what I'd love to do? Reality TV shows. And that's weird because I don't watch them.
Yeah.
But I love it. I did, a friend got me to watch The Celebrity Traitors over Christmas.
Yes.
And I don't know who, I think there is someone who does a voiceover on that. I don't know if there is. But I think it was that or some other show where they had someone doing a voiceover. And the person doing the voiceover sounded like they were having the best time out of everyone on the show.
Brilliant.
And I thought, I could watch TV. And who is it? Rob Beckett. He does voiceovers.
Yes.
And he has such a laugh coming up with the commentary. I thought I would quite enjoy commentating on very silly television. It's so different from what I do day to day.
Yeah. No, that would be amazing. And you'd be great at it.
Well, thank you.
So getting into people who actually want to pivot the career.
Before we pivot careers, can I just share some news, please?
Please do. I love it.
So this week, I achieved one of my goals for the year.
Which was
to launch my first course on the Udemy platform.
Love it.
So I wanted to share that today because, first of all, I'm proud of myself and we must celebrate success. But I've helped hundreds of people to get promoted. Everyone from people who've just started out early on in their career to helping people get into the C-suite and even get jobs as CEOs. And it's one of the things I love doing the most because it's a way to help people achieve their career goals, build their confidence, find out what they're capable of. Like, there's so many plus points to helping someone get promoted. But another thing that I realized a few years ago was that as a coach working one-to-one with people, there's a limit as to how many people I can help. And that's why I wrote the book, to reach more people. And so I thought one of the other things I could do this year was to create online courses that are much more accessible and more affordable. And I picked Udemy because it's a really easy platform to use and it's really affordable to sign up.
Spell it for the people who might want to...
Udemy is the platform, and we're going to put a link in the notes.
Yep.
And the course is called How to Get Promoted, so it does what it says on the tin.
Love it.
And it's only 35 minutes of content, so I've made it really short, really punchy, broken into little lessons with a workbook, with your homework. And these are the steps that hundreds of my clients have taken, and sometimes they almost seem so simple, you think this can't be this easy. But they are honestly the simple things you can do where you might not change anything about the actual work you do or how you perform, but these are steps you can take that make you more visible, have more influence, build your leverage, that mean on the next round of promotions, your name's at the top of the list. So I'm really proud of myself, because it's actually not that easy, it turns out, to build a course. It takes a bit of work and thought, but I'm really happy to have the first one out, and there will be more.
That's amazing. Well done, my love. That's brilliant. That's really, really brilliant.
So now let's talk about
pivoting your career.
Yes.
And this really, I think, like, a good starting point is, like, we know it, right? But we don't always acknowledge it. It doesn't matter where you are in your career, whether you've been there 10, well, maybe not 10 minutes, 10 months, 10 weeks, 10 years, 20 years. If you feel like you want to change, take this as your permission slip that you can change and pivot your career
totally.
At any stage.
Yes.
And also another point that's really good to make and to get us going is, I feel there's no such thing as like wasted time, because the skills that you've built in a career that perhaps you don't love or perhaps you haven't thrived in, those skills you can bring into a new career very easily. So you're already on the front foot to sort of start a new career and start moving forward.
Yeah, that's so true, because I coach tons of clients who are changing roles within an industry or moving out of the industry or complete pivot or setting up a business. And one of the things that holds them back is they worry they're losing everything they just did. And I say it's a bit like them, and again, I never watched this show, but there was a show with Noel Edmonds. There was a banker on the phone. I can't remember what it was called. Deal or no deal?
Yes, exactly, right? That.
And there was, all I remember about it was there's this thing where you could choose to bank your winnings so far before moving on to the next stage. You could kind of secure your winnings. And I'm always saying to my clients, you've banked everything you did.
Yes.
Changing your career now doesn't wipe away any of that experience. You don't lose any of it. Some people are scared to leave a big, like they might have a big job title that has a lot of status with it. And then they're like, well, tomorrow I'll be a nothing. It's like, no, you were always that person. Yes. So you've banked that. But one of the great things you can think about when you're pivoting is, how do I then leverage that experience? Like, there's so much I do now as a coach that leverages my experience from banking, even though that was now a really long time ago. So you can leverage all of that, or even if it's just a credential. Yes. You know, one of the reasons I get to coach a lot of senior people, and especially in professional services, is because I was senior in professional services. So I think it's seeing that it's like an and, like you're building on top of this. It's not a or. It's not like, well, it's like that never happened if I move on to this new thing.
Yes. And I think as well, it's being prepared, that primitive brain, that survival bit of your brain that wants you to stay safe and not happy, will show up. And as soon as you start to even just sort of peek in the door of, I want to sort of maybe do something else, or even just go from being employed as a particular role to doing it under your own steam and being maybe in more of a consultant basis, your primitive brain will start going, but you can't do this because you've got kids, mortgage, house, responsibilities, dog, everything we need to do. And it's so expecting that, but also like breaking it down, trying to step away from the overwhelm and just do the small steps. I was talking to a friend this week actually who's looking to move away, and I've introduced her to a few people, and so she's setting up her own company. I've introduced her to the right people, and she was like, I'm so grateful. I was like, in essence, this is like having conversations with the right people, serving your clients excellently. There's no more to it than that. You are doing, boom, you have a business. You're doing it right now. And it's kind of like recognizing that when you start, so stepping away from the overwhelm, taking those small, tiny steps, as we always talk about, and just not trying to overthink it. But it is, of course, very overwhelming.
Well, it can be. And I think we can talk about kind of a sensible way to approach it. But I want to get your take on this, because some coaches and some people have this approach, especially if it's a big pivot or leaving your standard job to set up a business. Some people have this like throw yourself off the cliff approach, where they're like, oh, you've got to burn all the bridges to make sure you're motivated to do it. And just, you've got to go all in, and people just set up the website and they tell everyone they're doing this thing before they've done any of those things you said, before they got the first client or have the first conversation. They're going to go all in. Now, I as a coach take a very different approach. I'm talking to my clients about a gentle off ramp, a gentle on ramp from their existing job to their new one. Is there opportunity to overlap? Have you built up a financial cushion?
Yes.
Have you really tested your idea? Can you get your first paying customer before you leaving your existing job? So I'm taking a really different approach to it that seems to really work for my clients and doesn't trigger the brain's resistance as much, because it's not like everything on black. But I see lots of messaging about everything on black. So I want to get your take on that.
I feel like it's a really interesting one, and don't, because as people we're all different. We'll all have different tolerances to risk. So there will be people that will be able to do that whole just burn the bridges. There's no plan A. There's no plan.
Backup.
There's no plan A sometimes, and there's definitely not a plan B.
Just go for it.
Exactly. So there are people that they generally have like their primitive brain is less sort of triggered and upset by things in everyday life. They're usually like relatively calm, and they know they've just got a really strong sense of self that whatever they do, because they don't have a plan B, they will make it work, and they're going to throw everything. And your brain kind of likes that in a way, because it's like we've got like laser focus on the way we're going. It's got to work, and therefore everything is aligned, and our focus is entirely on that. So our brain kind of likes it, because it's like we've got a very clear instruction that this is what we're doing, accompanied by that higher sort of like tolerance to risk and stress and that sort of thing. So it works for those kind of those kind of personalities. A much more, especially if you're in a career where you've been sort of deeply unhappy, maybe you feel like your self-worth and your self-esteem has been eroded away, and you're not quite sure whether you can do it. A much more better approach is for your brain, and to keep yourself calm and not having a nervous breakdown, is to have all those things in place, because it's reassuring to your brain. It's the tiny little votes that you can do it. And it's like, so, and also if it doesn't work, it's like, I've got savings that just buys me a bit of time. I can pivot into this career or this career. So it works differently for different people. It depends on whether you align with Camp A, Plan A only, or Camp B, where you feel like you need that reassurance and you need those backup options.
Well, and there's also the kind of pleasure-pain motivation in there as well, because one of them is a pain-driven motivation, which is, I lose my house if I don't succeed. And it is interesting, because that can be pain in the short run is a better motivator.
Yes, for sure.
So that actually could get you to get started really quickly, or to hustle more, and push you to get out of your comfort zone. So like sometimes I will deliberately create pressure for myself in my business, because I need that bit of pain to get going on something that's new or out of my comfort zone. But then we know the pleasure motivation in the long run works better and doesn't burn us out. And in the long run, that's why you also need to have a really good goal behind why you want to pivot, behind this new direction, and that you keep connecting yourself with that and reminding yourself of, oh, I'm doing this because the work's more fulfilling, or I'm helping more people, or it gives me more time with my family, or it makes me more money. It doesn't matter what it is, but I think you have to work harder to reconnect with the positive goal, because it's not as urgent as the negative one.
Exactly, and you're so right. It's like that plan, burn the bridges, burn the boats, is a great short-term strategy for like shorter-term goals. But remembering your why you're doing it, is very motivating in your dark moments. Like, I'm doing this because I want to spend more time with my family. I'm doing this because people talk about it a lot in podcasts as well. It's like when we're in that sort of, if we're in a career that we don't find fulfilling, but it's not comfortable, again, because we're safe and not happy, we tend to sort of sit in that space. It's sometimes better if it's slightly worse, because then that compels us to take action. But we need to have like those guiding lights and those positive things to look forward to. Otherwise, our brain just gets into this circuit of we're really having to dig deep. We're having to sort of find the discipline to do the things. We're constantly under pressure, and none of it's nice. And then we find that because we're not getting those chemical rewards in the brain that we could do in a good job, or this is enjoyable in any way, shape, or form, it becomes harder to sustain that, because we're just not enjoying it. And our brain is like, why are we bothering? Because this isn't nice.
Well, and to be really cheesy, but life is the journey, not the destination. So if the journey's really horrible, it doesn't really matter how nice the destination is. And before we talk about how we make the pivot, I thought it might be good to share a few of the things that I get my clients to think about before they make that pivot, because I think sometimes a career pivot can be a reaction to not being happy where we are. and then we can just grab at the nearest idea, and that might not be the right thing. So there's kind of 3 key things I like to work through with my clients, and we can explore those and see what you work through with yours. The first one is, why do you want to pivot? Let's get really clear on what that's about. Is it about there's a positive focus, or is it trying to get away from something negative? Let's get very clear on what it is you're trying to get away from, and what are many different ways we could solve for that.
Yeah, love it.
Because the brain likes to just go to one answer and stick with it. I've had clients who thought they wanted to leave financial services, and when we dug into what they weren't happy about, they were all things that were completely solvable within financial services. And actually, when we solved them, they were really happy to stay, and then stayed for a long time, because it was about either who they worked for or the area. One of them, it was just that they were in the wrong country.
Yeah.
And I helped them move country within their industry, which they didn't think was possible. And then they were really happy. So I think the first thing is get very clear on why you're pivoting, and what you're solving for. The next thing that we can definitely get into is get very clear on your strengths, because you will be successful in life, whatever you do, if you're playing to your strengths. So get very clear on those. And as you said, all the prior experiences, how do you build and leverage on them? And then the third one is about your motivators. And there's a particular model of motivation I like to use, but we're really exploring what truly motivates you. What do you really love? Is it connection with other people? Is it building and growing businesses? Is it actually you're really process driven and you like structure and certainty? Working out what really motivates someone means that when they make a pivot, if you make sure that pivot is aligned with what motivates them, what their strengths are, they'll be successful and they won't lose interest. Because otherwise what you see is people, as a reaction, they change direction, they go onto the new shiny thing, and it keeps their interest about 6 months to a year. And then they come back to me going, oh God, I've made a mistake. This isn't the job for me. I don't want to stay here in the long run. When it's aligned with what truly motivates them, then they're really sticky. And so, you know, I left my job 10 years ago to become a career coach and a public speaker, and I'm still doing it 10 years later, and I'm still absolutely loving it because it's so aligned with my motivators.
Yes. And a shout out to your clients that tried the job. I think this is a really good point to make. They tried the job and then they were like, actually, I've kind of made a mistake. Because that in itself or not even a mistake, it's like, this isn't actually what I thought it would be. Acknowledging that you have like pivoted perhaps in a slightly, we've maybe zigged when we should have zagged, is fine. Acknowledging it, and you think, and then taking action and moving forward from that, pivoting again. We sometimes we find our brains and ourselves convincing ourselves as, well, I've kind of made this choice, I kind of have to live with it.
Yes.
But you don't. This is what I talk about a lot with my clients. It's like there are many routes to our destination. We can go, and we're just trying things on for size. We're not committed, even if we feel like we've committed to a decision and it's not panned out to what we wanted it to be. We can change it.
Yeah, and that's such a change career-wise. You know, both my parents essentially did the same job their whole lives, and might have moved employers a couple of times, but it was pretty much the same. Whereas now it's much more normal to change directions. And yes, you don't want to change jobs every 5 seconds on your CV, but people are much more forgiving and understanding, especially if you have a really good narrative around it. And especially as long as you've learned from whatever the thing you did, it wasn't wasted time.
No.
I think one of the difficulties maybe younger people have now is they feel like they should love every day of their life and every day of their job, and every part of their job should be really fulfilling. Whereas when you talk to people who've had long, successful careers, they will always be able to name periods that often involve 1 or 2 years, not months, where it was a bit crappy and they weren't enjoying it, or it wasn't quite going in the right direction. But they sucked it up, they learnt from it, and then in the end it was a positive. And so I think it works really well both ways. There's more room for us to pivot. But I do also worry sometimes that people pivot too quickly or reflexively, because if everything isn't perfect and happy where they are, they think, well, I must change it. I don't think there's anyone who's got a career where every single day they just thought, this is the perfect job for me. I'm in the exact right place and everything's wonderful. And so managing our expectations that your job will have ups and downs just like your life does, and navigating those and knowing when it's just something to ride out or when is it something to pivot away from.
Exactly. And I feel that then having the benefit of talking to someone that I would perhaps, like you say, your mum and dad had careers forever, same as like my mum and dad, they're still in that cycle of you have a career for life. I feel like if you get to the point where you're like going into work and I want to burn the boardroom to the ground and like I'm having a horrible time. When you're emotionally charged, speaking to someone that's a career coach like yourself, or speaking to someone who is a stabilizing force and a less emotionally connected person in your life, talking to them and talking through the options and getting them to give you a more impartial opinion is very helpful, because it really just starts to like lay down, like you said, what are the issues? What am I not happy with? Also, one point which you've triggered in my brain is you can obviously try, if you're looking to sort of do your own gig or your own business, you can just test that concept on a side hustle basis. And there's a lovely lady called Emma Gannon who wrote a lovely book called The Multi-Hyphen Method, about how more people nowadays are having like multi-hyphen careers. So they'll do...
This is like, it used to be like actor/model.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
That was the thing, the multi-hyphen career.
But it's like how you might be a journalist and an author, and you can pick things that are quite different, but generally in the same space, maybe like the arts but people are looking more, people now have the option of creating careers where they have adjacent jobs that kind of sit beautifully together. And that, if you're a person that likes to have variety, different things going on in your life, we talked about it before. We talked about it in one of the first conversations, and because you said to me about how you like that variety.
Yes.
And how you need to have that to feel fulfilled. Feel fulfilled. Yeah.
Say that 10 times in a row.
And how you need that just to keep things alive and interesting, rather than doing the same thing day in, day out. And I feel like, again, that's really liberating for people to hear, because people will feel like it's like this option or this option, but it could actually be this option plus this and this option.
Yeah, and that's the binary thinking that our brain wants to do, with like simple route, choose A or B. And I was having some great conversations with clients this week about, okay, what is every other letter of the alphabet in between like A and Z?
Yeah.
And helping them see that they're going into this black and white thinking. I'm glad you brought up variety, because it's one of the motivators. And I'd like just to, in the kind of final few minutes of the podcast, to maybe explore some of them.
Yes.
Because for me, that has been a tool set with my clients that really helps them set up for a successful pivot. And the model of motivation I steal is the one from Tony Robbins. So he talks about 6 human needs.
Okay.
These are things that all of us need to a certain degree. But in my model of motivation, I'm looking at it that, yes, we need a little bit of all of them, but for each of us, 2 or 3 might stand out as being really important.
Okay.
So for me, one of them is variety, which you just mentioned. And people who are very motivated by variety, and variety can also be mixed with risk, they like not knowing how everything turns out. And they like doing a mix of things. So I run my own business. I have a portfolio career. I'm on the board of a company. I do workshop speaking, one-to-one coaching. I do some work through companies, some is private. So it's like a real blend and variety.
Yeah.
And that is really motivating and rewarding to me. And there are people in my life who like the other motivator, which is certainty, which sits on the other side of that. And they are people who need to know exactly what they're going to get paid every month. Yeah. Exactly what their day is going to look like. They even want to know what their career looks like for 5 to 10 years.
Yes.
And so to them, what I'm doing looks like absolute hell.
Yeah.
That honestly, they think I've lost my mind. And to me, what they're doing looks like hell. So that's one of the key motivators, is understanding, and you can sit in between those, but understanding how much variety and risk are you comfortable with?
Yes.
Or how much certainty do you need? Where are you along that line? That changes in your life. So it can be, when you have children, you might suddenly want more certainty and structure. You might want a salary job with private healthcare and all those things. Really understandable. But I think you've got to be very honest with yourself, because if you're going to run your own business, you're definitely moving to the risk end.
Yes.
So that's certainty and variety. And then the other 4, in brief, but it's worth thinking about how they apply to you. One of them's growth. So these people love to keep learning and growing all the time, but they also often like to teach people.
Yes.
So they've got to be, if they're pivoting, it's got to be into a job that allows them space to develop and learn, or space to teach people.
Yes.
The next one is connection. So we're both very motivated by connection, because we love building relationships. We want to bring women together in the Bad Bitch community.
Yes.
I love that my job lets me build long-term relationships and meet new people all the time.
Yes.
So if connection is important to you, are you pivoting into something that lets you build connection and values it? Or are you going to move into a job that's quite solitary? If you don't value connection, actually you might prefer something more solitary. After connection, we have purpose. Now, in this sense, we're talking about purposes when there's a thing that you just really know you want to do in the world. Everyone has some kind of purpose, but it's all about, are you absolutely obsessed with, like one of my clients, they're obsessed with how we make wine, and they are changing how wine is produced through technology.
Amazing.
But they are obsessed with that. So that works really well for them. I don't have a purpose obsession, so I don't need my work to be aligned with that. It can be impact. It might be you want to clean up the oceans, but you'll know if purpose is your motivation because you'll know what the thing is and you'll already be doing it. You'll be that driven. And then the final one is significance. Now, significance is really interesting because this is about respect. We all want to feel respected, but it can take different forms. For some people, having a big job title is really important. And early on in my career, that was definitely something that mattered to me. It was a kind of form of recognition of success. And so that wasn't, we're just laughing because the dog has started drinking from my mug.
Hi, my darling.
Clear's back on the podcast. Before this podcast,
my darling,
we were conscious that she might try and join. So what we did was we got her to listen to one of Julia's relaxing audios, and it worked. And she went to sleep, and she visualised her best life.
You did, didn't you, baby? Yes.
And now she's woken up, and she's
ready to fulfil her dreams and pivot her career.
She's motivated by connection, which is so true. So she's here to hang out with us.
Oh, bless.
So yeah, so I was talking
Continue, my love. Sorry.
Talking about significance. Some people, it's at a certain point in their life they want a big job title. For some people, they want to be respected as an expert in their industry. So they want to be the go-to expert on the particular thing they do. Or they might want to do well in academia. It's understanding what significance means to you. Once I'd attained a certain level of seniority in my career, I stopped having it as a motivator. I stopped caring about it. But if it's important to you, then you've got to make sure that what you're pivoting into is giving you that status or respect. Because if you don't have it, that can impact your sense of self. And then, I feel like I've missed one, but I haven't. So it's certainty, variety, growth, connection, purpose, and significance. And if you there's a lot more to all of that, but if you spend some time thinking about which of those actually really matter to you, not which do you think should matter. Maybe you think you shouldn't care so much about other people's respect, but you do. Just be so honest with yourself.
And that is fine.
Exactly, about what matters to you. And then make sure what you're pivoting into either naturally connects with those, or if it doesn't, how are you going to make sure that area is fed? Because that's what's going to keep you interested in the long run, rather than this kind of short-term excitement and then you lose interest.
Exactly. And what we'll do is we'll take, although it's Tony Robbins' framework, we will obviously credit him, but we'll pop those headings in the show notes so you can find them. But I think, yes, that's a really good starting point to look at those guidelines. Think about where you sit on the risk scale. Are you a burn the boats Viking approach, or are you like, I need a few safety nets and I need a few little bits to catch you? And then think as well about having a conversation with a career coach or someone that's not so emotionally connected to the situation about what's going on for you. And then just try these things. As we said at the beginning, this is your permission slip to try.
And find a way to try it that doesn't...
Low stakes.
It's low stakes. And also just go looking for evidence. People just think if they plan enough, they'll work it all out. Just go and test it out. If you want to go and sell a product, try and sell the first one. You don't even need the actual product. Just go and check demand. But just go exploring, go gather evidence. I'm much more for that than burning the bridges, I have to say.
Yeah, perfect. All right, my lovelies, if you found this helpful, please share it with anyone that's thinking of pivoting their career. And if you like and subscribe, that really helps us out too. Thank you so much for being here with us with your precious time, and we look forward to seeing you on the next Bad Bitch podcast.